The Friday Sports Riot on SportstownChicago.com.
And if you want to call the show, it's 630-403-5200. It's 630-403-5200. And now, Ryan, who do we have on the show right now?
On the Illinois Center for Broadcasting Hotline, we have Mark Grody, 670 The Score.
What's up,
What's
Mark?
going on, guys?
Nothing much, man. How has your week been so far?
It's been a lovely week. Actually, it started off well, and then I started to get a cold. So if you really are asking me, it's gone sour towards the end of the week. So I'll deal with it, though.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the Olympics. What was your take on the Olympics overall?
Overall, on the whole show, I mean,
Yeah.
No matter what happens, no matter what gets talked about, before the Olympics, because there's always some sort of controversy that occurs on where it is, and of course there's so many things with Sochi this year. No matter what happens with the Olympics, no matter where it's held, it always looks like the Olympics. So when people ask me what do you think of the Olympics, I say, it looked exactly like the Olympics. And the highlight for me, like I think a lot of sports fans probably in this town who are pro sports fans, was the hockey tournament for sure. But on the overall, it seemed like a pretty smooth operation, and it looked like the Olympics.
And now, what was your take on the U.S. not getting a medal in the Olympics? Like, what was that about?
Well, going into it, I don't think a lot of people, people didn't necessarily expect the Team USA to medal. I mean, I think that I expected them to at least get a bronze. I think the highlight, though, of that entire tournament, obviously, was the game against Russia in the shootout. I thought they played better against Canada than a lot of people thought they played. I mean, I keep hearing from people that they got completely outplayed, completely outclassed, and I didn't see it that way. You lost 1-0, and the best player on the ice was the goalie for Team USA, and that was Jonathan Quick. So to me, they played that game very well. Now after they lose that game, to me, personally, it didn't really matter what happened in the next game. Now, they got embarrassed by losing 5-0, but really, with any of the Olympic sports, who cares about silver and bronze? It's like the worst second and third prize.
Yeah. So do you think that Sochi was a bad place to have the Olympics, or do you think that after they had the Olympics there, that it was a good idea?
Well, I think overall, going into it, I'd say like a place like that, a country like that is as backwards as it still is with some of its social issues and the way they handle things with dogs running around and the way they treat homosexuality. They don't, something like that in terms of social conscience, no, they don't deserve it. And a lot of what the Olympics is about is that, and it's about the world and about the world coming together. They're a little bit backwards. Now, did they put on, was Sochi a good place for the Olympics? When you just talk about the raw sport, yeah, it looked great. All the events looked pristine. It looked like a smooth operation. The security issues, nothing happened with that because that's what everybody was worried about going into it. Is there going to be some sort of terrorist attack? And they handled it all very well. But to answer the question, I don't think a country like that, these backwards countries, deserve to be highlighted by the world.
Now, moving on to some baseball, is there any chance that there could be some bright spots for the Cubs this year? How do you see this going down?
Well, I think that the bright spots that you're going to see are going to be in spring training because that's the only time you get to see the core four players with Chris Bryant and with Almora and Baez. And actually Baez, though, I believe that Baez could very well be called up first and soon, maybe May or maybe even June. That wouldn't shock me at all. So really, I'm just trying to think. I'm just like going position to position, like with the team that breaks camp, and there's nothing that I can think of that really jumps out at me in terms of what I guess I want to see if Anthony Rizzo more than anything turns around. I want to see if I believe Starlin Castro will get back to where he was, but because he was just, I don't believe that you can go from a guy who gets 200 hits a year to all of a sudden just completely flop. So I'm looking forward to seeing Rizzo and Castro, and then it'll be interesting to watch what happens with Samardzija. It's pretty clear that they would like to trade him, but they are not going to move him unless they get what they want back for him.
Do you think that Rick Renteria could be the guy that could take them to a lot of playoffs, and do you think he's going to be a good manager for this team?
Well, apparently he's the guy that is just supposed to be nice. to the players.
Right.
Because, the one thing that Theo Epstein admitted about Dale Swaim, or said, or was quoted as saying, I think it was Epstein or Hoyer, one of the two, they're on the same page, of course, is that, before you can give tough love, you have to give love. And, apparently Swaim didn't do that. So really, Rick Renteria's job is to come in and be really, really nice to these players and to try to, no matter what anybody says, that's what it's about, developing the young players, getting along with the young players. So apparently if Starlin Castro allows a guy to tag up from third base from the shortstop spot, he's not going to get scolded this year like he was by Swaim. He's going to get a big hug from Rick Renteria in the dugout.
Now, moving on to the White Sox, what would you call a good year for this team?
Well, 99 losses last year. I don't expect them to. They're in a tough division. I think that's one of the big things with you can name three teams right off the bat that are better than them. I think position for position, especially starting with Detroit and Kansas City and Cleveland. I think that maybe I think the Sox probably 5-6 games under 500 before it's all over. I think that it'll be worse than that throughout the year, but I think they'll finish strong. And I only say that because there's a lot of different new parts and pieces that are coming together. I expect that Adam Dunn will have a good season, believe it or not, just because it is a free agent year for him. Really interested to see what nobody really knows what Jose Abreu is going to do either. I mean, this guy could he could step in and hit 40 home runs, or he could come in and hit 19 or 20 home runs and be a Diane Viciedo type. I mean,
right.
It's completely difficult to tell. So I'd say a successful season or a realistic season, 5-6 games under 500.
Speaking of some of the new people that are on the White Sox now, do you think Matt Davidson will be the starting third baseman for the White Sox?
I don't know that he will be. I definitely think he should be. I think that, he's penciled in, though, in a lot of the projected lineups, but just from some people that I've talked to, they say that he may start in the minors because, he only is 21, 22 years old, but, with very little major league experience. But I think the White Sox are in a perfect position to have a guy like that, learn on the job. They've got an opening for that this year. They're not expected to win. There is an opening on this team to have a young guy play through the pain and learn at the big league level. And I think that they have the it's not always the situation with a team that you have the luxury to do that. I think the White Sox do. So I think they should start Matt Davidson. I don't think he will, though, right out of camp.
And now, how good of a year will Chris Sale have for the White Sox?
I think Chris Sale is going to be, absolutely excellent. I mean, he's probably angry coming into this year because I don't think he had a great season last year, and a lot of that had to do with the White Sox dud of a defense and all the hitting problems that they had. But I think that Chris Sale can be a 17 to 20 game winner, and this is where he really now he is legit thought of Cy Young candidate. Real pitcher. He's with the top 5. He's with the big boys. Not that he wasn't last year, but now everybody has him. Everybody knows who Chris Sale is, and everybody knows that he's good, and I think that he's going to live up to the hype.
Now let's just do a Bulls question real quick. Do you think that the Bulls can get Jimmer Fredette? And if they do get him, how do you think Tom Thibodeau will use him?
I don't know. Does Jimmer play defense? I don't think Jimmer plays defense.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, so he's got first of all, Jimmer's going to have to learn how to play defense. It sounds like they are going to get him, or at least the Bulls really want him, and apparently that is his top choice too. So I guess we'll find out tomorrow whether or not we will be blessed with a man named Jimmer in this town. But Tom Thibodeau has a way, man. I mean, like when they traded Lou Alding, I was in the school of thought that I was like, all right, I get it, time to tank the season. And then they just kept winning, and now I can't help but just rooting for them every time they play because they're going to go to the playoffs. So there's no reason to root for the tank at this point. There's other teams that are successfully pulling off the tank, like Philadelphia and teams like that, the Milwaukee Bucks. So forget about it. The Bulls can't compete for those top 3 or 4 golden guys in college basketball. So just forget about that. But yeah, somehow Tom Thibodeau will figure out a way to make Jimmer good, and he'll nail some threes for you, and then you get him out when it's time to play defense.
Now, before we let you go, Mark, where can people find your work online?
You could find me on Twitter at Mark Rohde Sports. You can go to 670thescore.com. You could hear the podcast. We do I do a show with Steve Rosenblum on Saturday mornings. We start at 10 a.m. and go to all sorts of different times. I think we're 10 to 12 this Saturday. And I'm also part of the Mully and Hanley morning show, Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. till 9 a.m. I do the updates and join in with those guys every once in a while, too. So I'm all over the board, guys. You can find me anywhere, but at Mark Grody Sports is the Twitter. So
Okay. Thanks for coming on the show, Mark. We would love to have you again to talk about Chicago sports.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Later.
And that was Mark Grody of 670 The Score on the show to talk about the latest happenings in Chicago sports. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, and we got through a good amount of stuff. There was some really interesting stuff with the Olympics, for sure.
Yeah. I like this point where it's just like you can't root for Sochi. Like, they're just so awful, terrible people.
The Friday Sports Riot on SportsTownChicago.com.